Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're stepping way back in time to, well, a truly unprecedented moment in history. The date? November 24th, 725 AD. Just imagine the sheer historical weight of this for a second. We've got a small, battle-hardened Viking delegation sitting down for a deeply intimate cultural exchange with Mayan royalty. No way, right? But it happened. We're going to break down the nuances of this incredible meeting using accounts from our source material, because this isn't just about two completely different groups of people staring at each other, it's about how they actually begin to truly understand one another.
Okay, let's dive right into this, because the quote we're looking at perfectly sets the tone for everything that follows. Actually, scratch that. It sets the tone for the whole shebang. We've totally moved past the grand public spectacles and the massive, flashy arrivals. The Mayan king deliberately chose this exact phrasing to signal a really profound diplomatic thawing. He's effectively saying, we've seen you, but now we want to actually know you. It's absolutely crucial. This is the starting point of an intimate dialogue that literally strips away all that heavy ceremonial armor and gets straight to the core of who these people really are.
So Section 1, a meeting of minds, the royal chamber.
To really wrap our heads around the significance of this exchange, we've got to look at exactly who was in the room. Ragnar selects only a handful of people: Kristina, Ranveig, Sven Loki, and Adolf Gustavus, leaving the rest of his crew behind for this highly exclusive audience. Think about it. Our stoic Vikings, guys totally used to incredibly harsh landscapes, are suddenly stepping into this intensely sensory-rich Mayan chamber. Sunlight is filtering through intricate stone latticework. The air is cool, scented with fresh flowers and earth. And they're taking a seat on these low, carved wooden platforms with soft cushions. And you know what's really notable? There are 0 rings of armed soldiers. None. It's a space clearly designed for vulnerability, not intimidation. Talk about a fish-out-of-water experience.
And check out how the Mayan rulers present themselves. The king, Kinich Yakskuk Mo, well, he's imposing, sure, but deliberately relaxed. He's decked out in a deep blue tunic and these striking jade pendants. And in just a brilliantly smooth diplomatic move, he asks the Vikings to simply call him king. Just like that, he lowers the barrier of all those complex titles. Right beside him, Queen Ix Sak Nikte projects this incredible quiet strength. She's wearing a pristine white cotton dress, beautifully embroidered with symbols of the moon and fertility. Together, they just project this intense, perceptive curiosity as they take in their strange new visitors.
Moving on to Section 2, Tales of Ice and Snow. Two worlds collide.
So once the initial pleasantries are out of the way, the conversation naturally turns to the one big thing that separates them the absolute most: geography. The king has this sheer, almost childlike fascination with the Viking homeland. When he asks if it's true that their lands are gripped by ice and snow for half the year, he's literally trying to wrap his mind around a completely alien concept. A frozen world? Ragnar, of course, confirms this with immense pride, explaining that the snow can actually bury a man right up to his waist, and that the fjords freeze so solid you can literally walk right across them.
And this brilliantly illustrates the extreme environmental contrast here. I mean, it's totally striking. On one side, you have the Mayan reality, right? Intense heat, incredibly lush jungles, and vast oceans. And then on the other, waist-deep snow and a sun that barely even bothers to rise during the darkest days. Ragnar explains to them that this brutal, harsh winter is exactly what forges such strong people. They survive the freezing cold, and that survival is what makes them appreciate the returning light of summer all the more deeply. It's just this really profound moment where geography completely explains character.
Which brings us to Section 3, Strength of Viking Women, the Queen's Curiosity.
As the king is sitting there, just absorbing these harsh realities, the dynamic in the room suddenly shifts. Queen Eilek Saknikde takes the lead. She focuses not on the landscape, but on the women who actually have to survive in it. She asks Kristina an incredibly perceptive question, wondering if they just tend hearth or if they also journey across the great waters. She's directly and very cleverly probing Viking societal norms. She wants to know if that harsh homeland restricts women to the home, or if it actually demands their participation out there in the dangerous wider world. And wow, Kristina's response is just phenomenal. Feeling empowered by Ragnar sitting right beside her, she answers with absolute confidence. She highlights not just their capabilities, but their outright ferocity. She explains that their women are strong, incredibly skilled with axe and shield, and that they fight right alongside their men when the need arises. And almost right on cue, her sister Ranveig, who's standing right there in the room, instinctively drops her hand to the hilt of her hidden knife. It's like she's silently proving Christina's point right then and there.
Our source details exactly what Christina shares with the Queen about the rights of Viking women, and it's pretty eye-opening. Yes, they manage households, but they also own their own land, engage in trade, speak their minds freely in the political assemblies, and, as we know, fight in battle. But you know what was perhaps the most striking thing to the Queen? The fact that these women actually have a voice in choosing their husbands. The text notes this genuine spark of surprise and admiration, really, in the Queen's eyes when Christina explains that in their culture it's love and respect that bind a marriage, not just mere obligation.
Now, while this incredible conversation is unfolding, we really need to pay attention to the silent reactions happening all around the room, which are being seamlessly translated by their guide, Kubulu. Zach Tun, the scholar of ancient texts, he's sitting there with a furrowed brow, deeply intrigued by the concept of Viking gods. Then you have Ix Khan, the sacred garden tender, giving this really subtle nod of understanding to Christina about the strength of women. These vital little micro-interactions, they show us that this cultural exchange isn't just happening between the leaders. It's happening on multiple levels, all simultaneously.
All right, let's head into our final section. Section 4. Humanity Under the Stars. From diplomats to friends.
So, after the formal meeting wraps up and the Vikings head back to their quarters, all that heavy lifting of diplomacy finally gives way to some intimate human bonding. And at dinner, the shift is just undeniable. Christina deliberately chooses the seat right beside Ragnar. Their conversation gets quieter, filled with those shared, meaningful glances. And the rest of the Viking crew? They are highly perceptive. They absolutely notice this romantic development, and a quiet murmur of approval just ripples through the hall. You can tell they are genuinely happy to see their incredibly stoic leader finding a bit of familiar human warmth in this completely foreign world.
This whole remarkable day concludes up on the observation platform. As night finally falls, the Vikings and their Mayan hosts retreat to the serene garden. They're just looking out over the twinkling city lights, which the text beautifully describes as a vast, complex tapestry of human endeavor. They end up staying up super late, simply sharing stories across their two totally different cultures. It's just this silent, deeply powerful testament to the incredible journey they've taken to arrive at this point of mutual peace.
So, what does this all mean? Well, it brings us to a final, really provocative thought for you to ponder. When we are totally stripped of our vastly different environments, whether that's the frozen fjords of Scandinavia or the lush, steaming jungles of the Mayan Empire, are human connections and that fundamental desire to just understand one another ultimately the exact same everywhere? It's a truly fascinating question, right? And it's for sure one that we are going to continue to explore as we uncover more of this incredible journey. Thank you so much for joining me today on this explainer.